please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Sunday! Sunday! Watch the recap of the Devils beating the Nashville Predators. The league-leading Nashville Predators in Nashville, Smashville, at the Bridgestone Arena, a sold-out crowd watching the New Jersey Devils. Brian Boyle with a shootout goal and one goal in regulation, just finish off the Nashville Predators. My name is Sam Wu. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, Season 1, Episode 22, Tasmanian Devil. I got Beer Baron and Shorts Guy with me somewhere in beautiful New Jersey. Guys, you guys watched the game last night. Tell me your thoughts. Are you happy with Keith Kincaid right now and the New Jersey Devils?
Let it ride.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. Yeah, if he's the hot goalie right now, let him go.
Yeah, and you got to think Corey's got to look at it and be like, yeah, I want to make the playoffs. So yeah, let's let it ride then.
Yeah, guys, let me tell you, the big debate right now in the Devils, actually the Devils fans Facebook groups. There's a lot of them. There's the Let's Go Devils group. Plus there's Devils Army Blogs Facebook page. Devils all day, all night. Fans of the New Jersey Devils. The big debate. Do you go with Keith Kincaid or Corey Schneider? Right now, I say you ride the hot hand. Corey Schneider even admitted he can't perform like that. Obviously, there's something wrong. But I will tell you this, though. We called it last summer in the infancy of the Let's Go Devils podcast. Rolly the goalie coach. Rolly the goalie coach. They got from Vancouver. There is a reason why, and look at me, Devils fans, there's a reason why we have a 1A and a 1B starting goaltender right now. Keith Kincaid is stepping it up. Let him go.
I agree. You know, I want to point out something. Shorts Guy said this when, as soon as Corey Schneider went down with this injury, he said that is one of the hardest injuries as a goalie to come back from. a groin injury, and you could tell when Corey came back he was not 100%. And you know what? Yes, ride the hot hand, but at the same time, give credit where credit's due. Kincaid is 7-2 in his last 9 games and has been playing really, really solid hockey. So he had that really terrible game against Columbus, and it seemed to kind of spark a fire under his butt. So I don't know. Let's ride this out as far as you can get it, and hopefully that gives Corey some more time to get some practice under his belt and get a little bit healthier. And come playoff time, if Kincaid starts to cool down, then you go right back into your number one goalie. It's pretty good.
Christian Fawcett in the Let's Go Devils group says that little girl inspired Boyle. Knew his was scoring after she dropped the puck. You know what? Brian Boyle's having just an amazing run this season, and I just want him to keep going. Hell, I want him to win a Stanley Cup now. Like, who doesn't want Brian Boyle to win the Stanley Cup right now?
Well, if Brian Boyle wins the Stanley Cup, that means we win the Stanley Cup. So how could you not want that to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's there was a little bit of a downturn in his play, but he seemed to turn it on when it was needed over to yesterday against Nashville. Getting a goal in regulation play and then scoring a goal in the shootout. You can't ask for anything more from your from one of your big players. And plus, just overall the story of his season. It almost has that storybook type of feel to it, like something else big could happen, and that's what you want, and that's what we all want for both him and for our team too.
No, I agree. And there's I just think it's one of those stories that you can really get behind. I know a lot of people that have been unfortunately touched by the cancer, myself included. Not personally to myself, but I lost my grandfather to cancer, and it's one of those things that you see his story this season coming into it, having to battle through his own issues, and you could see, just like Christian said, it something definitely touched him. Every time there's a Hockey Fights Cancer night and he's on the ice, you could see his game is elevated. He's playing with a higher purpose. And you just love the kind of character guy he is in the locker room. There's something really interesting that I wanted to bring up that James Val Facebook group said. He said, I don't know about you guys, but this team is very Jekyll and Hyde, which is extremely true. Like one night you don't know what you're getting out of the next. But he said it seems like they play harder in front of Kincaid than they do for Schneider. Now I'm kind of under the belief that the team always plays harder in front of the backup because maybe they don't believe that the backup is as strong as a starting goalie. So maybe they don't rely on the starting goalie as, they don't rely as much on the backup. So they feel like they have to over themselves. So maybe that's why it shows. But I don't know. I always thought that too. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, usually you're correct in that. Usually when you're playing in front of the backup, teams seem to have to play. They seem to play a little bit harder because it's not their normal starter. But the way the season's gone with these two goalies, it's really, aside from from name and contract, it's really hard to determine who's the starter and who's not the starter. So that, as much as that's true, then with the situation the Devils have with having both of these goaltenders, you can make that. It's hard to really make that argument because they're both starters. But if you're looking at the Winnipeg game, the Devils had 43 shots on goal, so you can't say that they're not playing hard. Putting 43 shots on goal. They just ran into a really hot goaltender, and I was lucky enough to be at that game on Thursday just to watch it and just see. They, overall, they couldn't string two passes together in a row. The first good pass was the Heischer pass to Palmieri for the first goal. That was the first good pass all game, and that was late in the second period, which was sad.
Yeah.
Corey should have. You can say that Corey should have stopped I think it was the second goal. It seemed to be pretty straightforward, but he may have also been screened by the defenseman, which was right in front of it. So, the shooter's using that screen to his advantage, which is what, you want to do as a shooter. And his rebound control was not great in the beginning, but he solidified that as the game went on, and he did make a couple really awesome saves. But again, coming back from that injury, and you mentioned this before, and I've said this before, it's so hard to come back from this injury, and it's so hard to also just get back into that role of the game too. And you don't want to maybe say that there's a mental block there with Kincaid playing so well. Maybe Corey's putting a little too much extra pressure on himself, knowing that if he has a bad game, well, there's a guy that's going to step right in, which can be a positive thing, but also it can work against you.
I mean, that's kind of what he did to Robert Luongo in Vancouver, and then when he came, out to New Jersey, that was kind of like the same feeling too. But I mean, at the same time, with Kincaid playing the way that he is right now, riding that hot hand, the whole thought process, and I saw somebody mention this in the Facebook group as well. You'd want to throw Schneider into like some soft games, maybe like a game like Arizona or something like that. But unfortunately, we're not in the situation or the position to do so. We're at the time of year where every point 100% matters. And especially with how tight everything is, we're 3 points out of third place, but we're also 3 points out of, ahead of being out of the playoffs. So I think you just
every point matters.
You roll with it. Yeah, you roll with it. You let Kincaid go until he starts to cool down. And if he cools down any, like I said, you keep putting Schneider into practice mode and getting him reps in practice as much as possible. But unless you have a back-to-back, I really don't think you can, put him back into the net until he can show that he's 100%, able to move back and forth and recover.
And the only back-to-back that we have for the rest of the season, to my knowledge, we have 2 more back-to-backs. We've got Pittsburgh and Tampa, the 23rd and 24th. And then we have the Islanders on the 31st and Montreal on the 1st. So going into April, those are our last 2 back-to-backs going forward. Other than that, it's almost a game every other day. Other than that, there's a couple stretches where we have 2 days off here, 2 days off there. But other than that, it seems to be every other day they're playing a game. So, and maybe throwing Snyder in on the road, going out west this week, away from the pressure home. It's it's totally different when you go on the road than when you're at home. There seems to be less pressure on you. And, maybe that's a situation where you roll him in, but at the same time, these guys are professionals and they're paid to win. And if Kincaid's winning right now, that's the goal of the franchise, is to win. They're getting paid to win.
There you go. And so
you got to go with it, and that's the nature of it.
Yeah, and as fun as it was to watch Taylor Hall's point streak, which was disappointing to see it come to an end, you got to feel like that's got to take some pressure off of him too, and maybe like it gives the other guys opportunities to step up a little bit more. I know, like I said, I keep looking over at our Facebook group to check in. So, guys, thank you very much for all your feedback. There was a question proposed to us about the power play. Like, what do we think it is? Is it the coaching? Is it the lines that need to be shuffled? I think the addition of Patrick Maroon was a big addition, but I think it's just some of it looks like the confidence of some of the guys. Like they just need to get shots on net and then just start. It's just the luck of the draw. You score you score a goal, and then all of a sudden your confidence goes through the roof. And you realize you can't rely on Taylor Hall like every single night.
Yeah, and it'll take the pressure off Taylor, and maybe the other guys, like you said, are going to step up. We've had just at or north of 30 shots the last couple games. So especially in regards to that Winnipeg game, it's not that we're not shooting. But there were times in that Winnipeg game where they were definitely passing when they should have shot.
Oh, 100%.
Especially on the power play.
And then
it seems like they're looking for the perfect play, which you don't always need the perfect play.
No, you don't. And then there's times, like some people will point out, oh man, they put up like 40 something shots in that game. That's such a deceiving stat, because if I take a shot on you as a goaltender and there's nothing between me and you have a clear line of sight, the puck, and I'm, 50, 60 feet out, and it's just kind of a soft shot, that counts as a shot on net, but you're clearly seeing it and you're clearly, making a save or kicking it out. I mean, that seemed like a lot of their shots are not really, high traffic or dangerous shots on goal and stuff like that. It just seems like there's a lot of come in the zone, take a quick shot, and then all of a sudden we're heading back out of the zone.
Well, yeah, that's why you got your difference between shot and scoring chances. Like you said, you can have an easy, you can dump it in from the other end and it counts as a shot. But if it's not a high quality shot, it doesn't really count. It's still, it's there. I don't know. I don't know where, what's with the power play. But Maroon is definitely going to be that guy in the middle, which he was, and he has been since he's been here, basically. He's basically been that guy in the middle to kind of muck it up in front, be be just like a real big screen, which is what you want for a power play.
Yeah, and I just, getting those clear lanes to go side to side. I think there's a lot of, during the streak, there's a lot of like, we need to get Taylor Hall the puck to help bail out the team, and it became like they were becoming a little too reliant on him. And even when he wasn't out there was that, let's try to make that one pass. And there was a lot of like the defensemen just straight up not hitting the net. And I know a lot of that can be, they're looking for the redirections, or they're looking for kind of almost like a slap pass. But there's a lot of times where the defensemen are taking a shot and they just rifle it around the boards and it goes right out of the zone, on the power play, because they just straight up missed. It's not because they were trying to do a fancy play.
Well, yeah, and then you're clearing the zone for the other team, or you're setting up a breakout.
Hey guys, I just want to interrupt you guys to let you know that I don't know if these are fake Facebook accounts, but I invited Scott Wedgwood, Bryce Salvador, and Taylor Hall to our Let's Go Devils podcast. I just needed to interrupt there, but anyway, carry on, guys.
Out of all three of those, I bet Scotty Wedgwood is the real one.
Yeah, probably. We can't call Sam the ghost of Sam Wu anymore. He's like officially back now. Which, by the way, you're
which I kind of like that.
And you're finally back too. You're off IR.
Dude, I'm still on IR. If you hear my mic cut out or you see me dip down, I have like I've been sick for like this entire week. It sucks. So I have like a ton of phlegm buildup. I'm also not drinking a beer tonight. I'm having Gatorade.
Take some Advil.
I've done that. But yeah. Last week you guys talked to Grant Marshall. I was able to listen to a little bit of the show. I was super bummed I couldn't be on it. I had lost power. I will not name the power company that I use, but I'm not too happy with them. So let's just say that.
Sam Wu was willing to name them all last week.
I know. Well, I mean, I have I don't know. It was just a terrible experience. Somebody asked us what our thoughts were on Grabner. I think he's amazing. I think he's awesome. I think his time will come. He'll score. It will come soon. You just got to be patient. But I think he's a good addition to the team.
Yeah, no, he's a great addition to the team, and he's also coming from, one team that was sink and another team that's not. So he's got to get adjusted to that as well. And it's, whenever you're coming into a new lineup, it's gonna be hard to kind of melt into the new, into the new locker room and stuff like that. Plus, there's got to be something worth saying that he came from the big level that we have. That definitely has to have something. I mean, I know they're professionals; they're paid to play, blah blah blah. But still, that's coming from the biggest rival across the river. That's definitely got to be there somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's just he'll break through. He'll get that goal. I think even if it's going to be an empty netter, he's going to get something, and he's going to kind of just feel bad for the guy. He's had some opportunities that were pretty golden. some breakaways and things like that. He's hit a few posts. Anybody that's like, oh my God, blah blah blah, you got to look at the both sides of the coin, because he's also one of their penalty killers too. So you're bringing in a guy like that with that kind of experience that's going to help us out a lot. So look, everybody hated on Vatanen when he first came over, and look what that dude's doing.
I think I thought they'd still hate on Vatanen. I think they're going to be just professional Vatanen haters for as long as he's on the team, because they're so burnt about Henrique. I feel like we've talked about that way too much on the podcast.
I know.
But you know what? It's like starting any new job at a new company or whatever. There's always an adjustment period. So, hey, he's gonna get his chance, and it's gonna happen, and it's just gonna take some time. Hopefully he finds that groove end of April, and then just keeps going from there. That would be perfect. Mid to late April, when we're on starting a playoff run, he finds that groove and just keeps going.
Yeah, that's right. Just give him some time. Give him time. Let him get in there. You know what? We're not expecting him to be like a top line center, so it doesn't matter. It's not like we're saying, hey, can you go out there and score like at a Taylor Hall type of clip for a little while, because we really need it. Although that'd be pretty sweet if he did that, and it's kind of like right now the Devils are in a position where they just straight up need scoring from all assets. Anybody and anybody that can score.
They just wins. That's all they need are wins. Ugly wins, pretty wins, convincing wins, barely winning. It doesn't matter to me. A win's a win. It's 2 points. We saw that this week with the Montreal game. It seemed like they couldn't not score.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden, there's 4 going past Kincaid, and then they run into Winnipeg, who they just couldn't put it by the goalie if they tried. And then you have Nashville, and we were winning up to the very end of that game when they tied it up with towards the very end.
Which you could tell broke. But I mean, at least they came back in that game. But you could tell that spurned them a bit, especially the way they celebrated. But that was kind of like a douchey celebration at the end. But whatever. It looked like Brian Boyle kind of like skated through their little celebration and said something. But whatever. We ended up winning that game. Didn't really matter in the end. But
yeah.
By the go ahead.
No, I was gonna say in the end, that's all that matters is we won. So that's all I had. So what were you gonna say?
No. I was just gonna. I'm trying to read. It's so funny because you'll see us both looking down, because I know you do the same thing. We both look down away from the camera a lot, and that a lot of that is because we're trying to interact with like all of the people that are talking to us on social media, and my buddy Charlie Jackson. Yes, I do. I have power now. It came back, thank God. And Steve commented who. Yeah, exactly. You see my big fat face, so yes. And Steve commented on who my power company is, and he's dead right. And I mean, it could be worse. It could be like my neighbor across the street who hasn't had power in over a week and a half because their lines got knocked down in their yard, and they still haven't fixed it. So worse, but they do suck. It's, no way around it. But
so your
whatever.
next bill, you should actually take your next bill and you should write out the check and put something fun and creative in the memo portion of that check.
What, take a dump on it?
I think that's a little bit illegal to send through the mail.
Yeah, true.
I think that counts as hazardous material.
yeah. Especially with the medicine I've been taking.
Oh man.
You know what though? The funny thing though is like last night watching that game, I actually watched it on my phone on the MSG Go app, which by the way is I think is such an awesome little app. Like it's I think a minute behind, so you have to sometimes turn off your notifications off your phone because your notifications will ruin the game for you. But I've been in places where I've had like very little cell service and I was still able to watch a game, and I was pretty impressed. I I was sitting there watching it on my phone, and I remember, there was a point in the game where like the Devils were just they were playing in the Predator zone, and they're moving the puck, and they're like pinning the Predators in, and I'm like, damn, like where did this team come from? And all they're moving the puck, dominating the game, just Winnipeg, and they're not scoring.
Yeah,
you feel the frustration from the team because they're straight out outplaying the other team and just can't find a way to score. And you wish you had the magic cure to just be like, that's it. This is what you have to do. Top corner. I was surprised you didn't know. But
if you knew what that magic, whatever that magic was, then you'd be a very high paid and highly sought after NHL coach.
I would never.
That's exactly where you would be right now. Yeah, that's that. Like you brought up earlier, the Jekyll and Hyde nature of this team. They'll look amazing for small parts of the game, or sometimes they look amazing for the whole part of the game. And then they'll look awful for the next game or the next period or the next 5 minutes. It's just they are running hot and cold. So yeah, that's a big issue. They got to figure out going into the playoffs.
And there's questions about Jasper Bratt, and people are like, "Oh my God, like what happened to him? He fell off the face of the earth, and blah blah blah." And I'm like, dude, he's like 19 years old. He's a rookie. His numbers are pretty crazy. So you got to give him some time too. Like the kid isn't going to be a superstar throughout the entire year.
No, he's got to learn.
Exactly.
Sam, what do you got?
Hey guys, I got our first guest, Chris Wassel, on the line. Chris, you're our first caller calling in tonight. You're a big Devils fan. Can you hear us right now?
I can hear you guys loud and clear.
Awesome.
Chris, how's it going?
Hey, it's not going too bad. The fantasy hockey gig always pays pretty well, and I get to watch things from a different perspective than most.
Okay, so I have a question for you in terms of fantasy hockey. I mean, obviously Taylor Hall was hot on that game point streak that he was on, but are people picking up Keith Kincaid in the last month with some of the wins that he was able to put under his belt?
They're picking him up a little bit. There was a bit of hesitation, like in Yahoo and even ESPN, because there was a couple wins where obviously he gave up 4 goals here and 3 goals there. And this time of year, people are a little bit more picky. They're usually looking for high save count and a lower amount of goals. And people were kind of just a little hesitant, like, well, the Devils are winning 2, losing 3, winning 4, losing 2. And now finally, last couple of games, hey, there's this thing called a win and a loss and a win, and that it's like, what is this non-streak thing? And now at least fantasy hockey fans are starting to warm up to the idea of, oh, hey, we have to pick up a guy like Keith Kincaid, or even, for example, from the Islanders, Christopher Gibson, of all people. It's been that kind of year, unfortunately, where it just injuries run roughshod. This year it just seems a little bit more than usual. So a guy like Kincaid, he's out there in at least 75 to 80% of most fantasy leagues still. So, look, if you're taking a shot from midweek on, you have a few days at least. It's worth it.
Okay. Brian Gibbons back in the lineup. Do you see anybody going to pick him up? Is he a sleeper pick, you think? I mean, he had a hot start to the year, but yeah, now he's back. I'm sure a lot of people released him back into the free agent pool. What are your thoughts on that? Or am
Yeah, Gibbons is about 99% available in just about every format. He had that, like I said, he had that about 5 or 6 week run where it seemed like every shot went in. And at one point he got up to about 20-25% ownership. But it's between the drop off and then the injury, it just plummeted back to the basically 0.5% to 1% owned that he was to start the season. If the Zacha and Zajac injuries are a little bit longer than expected, nobody seems to know. Allegedly, Zajac has an AC joint injury. It's not believed to be a separation, but the problem is Coaching staff's been extremely mum with Zajac, unlike with Zaka. So, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, nobody had Corey Schneider having a groin tear either for a while. So everybody thought it was the flu. But we had spotted it about two games before that he was having groin issues, and then, the obvious. So it's a tough call, guys. Gibbons is somebody you could add just as a deep flyer, just to see what he does against teams like Vegas, who are banged up themselves and have about 8 or 9 guys out on the injured list right now. So maybe a speed guy like Gibbons isn't such a bad streamer for short term in fantasy leagues.
Now I got a question. This is the Beer Baron. I just have a quick question for you. Now I tried my hand in fantasy hockey, and unfortunately I could ever get a grasp on it for whatever reason. I always thought I was winning, and then I look at the stats and I'm like, well, I'm in dead last. I don't know how that happened. It's very appropriate. But I'm really well versed in the fantasy football league, winning championships and all. But one of the things that I always wondered is when you really have an insight on the fantasy side of sports, and you, like you said, you see it at a different angle, and you kind of have like more of an update on like these the injuries and kind of just the lesser known stats of some of these guys and guys that you should be looking out for. How much do you think that translates into the actual like the NHL? Meaning, like, you see the guys that, like you said before, like, we might not really know, or common fans might not really know, but you guys are like well aware. So are there a lot of players like that you guys see that we don't?
There's quite a few. I mean, the greatest example is Jesper Bratt. Few people could see him making the impact that he did at the start of the year. But the one thing that we noticed over in Europe, and the biggest thing, was the guy had a tenacious work ethic, and the fact that some had jokingly called him the Swedish Claude Lemieux over in the Swedish league. It's just an annoyance to play against, just an extreme pest. And his tenacity towards the puck has served him well. Now, obviously, there were concerns with him, lack of shot volume, and you sit there and go, okay, well, first he's doing really good. He has a 20% shooting percentage. It's got to come down at some point. And it has. Devils fans, of course, we're a worried sort. We see the teams behind us, and we see a couple teams ahead of us that maybe we could catch. But we didn't expect to be in this position either. And a lot of that is because of the rookies. Will Butcher is a great example of this too. A little more higher profile, obviously, but could anybody have seen him having like 20 assists in his first 28 games? Probably not. Did he fall off a little bit? Yeah, he hit the wall. Most college kids play like 35 to 42 games in a season. And right about the halfway point, he really just plummeted. And the last few games, he's looked like the Will Butcher that we saw in October and the first part of November. And we're looking at it from it's not just necessarily the straight fantasy hockey NHL, maybe AHL standpoint as far as players. Now we're looking at European leagues. We're looking at college. We're looking at prospects. The rise of Dauber prospects as a site alone, guys, is something amazing. Literally, they're one of the top 5 prospect sites in fantasy sports, period. And that's because of it's just not a tunnel vision type of thing anymore. And it's like that with football. You're looking at all sorts of places and different sources for these players. And sometimes they come from Canada every so often. It's not at the prevalence that you see in the NHL, but it's there. And we're looking at different categories and trying to figure out who's going to do this or that. And the Devils have a lot of young guys that have ridiculously exceeded expectations. And that's why you have a team that probably was expected to be around 65 points or so at this point, that is now around 75 to 80.
Now, you say you see a lot of these players in Europe, and you see them in the AHL. Are there any prospects that the Devils fans should be looking out for, statistically wise or fantasy wise? number translate just like a Butcher or a Jasper Bratt?
I mean, the obvious ones are the top guys that we have in the system. Mikey McLeod, Joey Anderson. I'm always curious to see how a guy like here's the thing. Ken Appleby's been a good warrior. Let's face it. He came into the last prospect camp and there were people are like, huh? And now he's playing pretty well for Binghamton. And in his cup of coffee in New Jersey, he showed that he can play well. And say if, God forbid, New Jersey has another rash of injuries, you never wish that upon any team. You have guys that can step in. I mean, Appleby brought a calming presence to the goaltending situation. And let's face it, no matter who's in net right now, it is at times a little bit helter-skelter. That's just a matter of fact. And that's partially because of having such a ridiculously young team. That's something that we have, as Devils fans, haven't seen in 2 decades. So it's a little different for even the older Devils fans and media even to get used to. I know since covering this team since 2000, I saw the average age of the team this year, guys, and the first thing I went was like, whoa.
Yeah, right.
This is something way different, and it is an adjustment period. We're looking for prospects now, and as the prospect cover gets less there, you're noticing healthier and healthier competition. Now, the one guy I can't wait to see to come up, hopefully, at some juncture would be Joel Quenville, and for more than just like a little bit here and a little bit there. I really like the way Quenville has grown as a player, but more importantly, he has a game that fits well with New Jersey. So it's now just a question of trying to piece him in, probably sometime early next season. I think he may make it off the team, as far as training camp next year. He has come along pretty quick.
Hey, Chris, it's Shorts Guy. I totally agree. We haven't had a young core of players since the late 90s to come about like this. Well, in the beginning of the season, when the Devils just started off as crazy hot, did you see a lot of Devils that maybe no one would have picked up in a draft? All of a sudden, people were just snapping up out of the free agent pool, or was it kind of like a hesitation to pick them up there?
Well, because of what happened last season when the Devils started out kind of hot and then just plummeted around December, there was a little bit of hesitation. You didn't see the jumps that you would see with some other teams. A good example was about, I would say, early November. Pittsburgh saw a mass drop. But that's happened before with Pittsburgh. It happened after their first Stanley Cup where Sidney Crosby went in the tank, and everybody thought, oh, my God, this might be the year that Crosby actually regresses for a whole entire season. That didn't happen. He had one of the 10 hottest second halves in the last decade, and the rest was history. But with the Devils, there was a severe amount of hesitation. I mean, Will Butcher's ownership did not skyrocket for about a month, and he was pumping. I mean, he had 9 assists in his first 7 games, and his ownership went up 1%. It went from like 1.1% to 2.4%. That's not much of a jump, especially when a guy's producing at a point-a-game pace for 2+ weeks. Jasper Bratt, again, it was more of the same type of thing. There was a hesitation, and then there was a spike. And that's what happens generally when you have teams that are below 500 for 3, 4, 5 years. When that team starts to turn the corner, even fantasy experts are slow to act. There's a hesitation involved that is inherent in the business and in leagues in general. So absolutely, there is always a hesitation. And even now with some Devils players, there's still a hesitation because in the fantasy hockey world, the Devils are seen as kind of, okay, Taylor Hall, Nico Hischier, Kyle Palmieri, maybe a player or two here or there, and that's about it. Those are your higher owned guys.
As they should be.
So, Chris, Just one last thing before we let you go. When's the next game you're going to?
Always the fun part. Basically, when they get off, the long road trip. I've been fortunate that I've been able to cover games here and there, but last few weeks with family chaos and such, it's just like I'm kind of almost glad in a way there's a long road trip, just because it gives me a little bit of a breather to concentrate on my fantasy hockey playoffs, but also to concentrate on writing again. Because for a while it's just like it's right, and not what you necessarily want to get out there. So this little break definitely helps. It doesn't help the Devils because the road trip is a schedule of death. But at least if there's one thing as a solace for Devils fans is that we do pretty well on the West Coast, and we do play better on the road for the most part. And that's been that way for about the last 4 or 5 years. So look, it's going to be a fun and bumpy ride. Don't expect it to be easy, but you're going to find a lot of Devils players low owned. Again, if the Zaka or Zajac injury is a little more significant than first thought, you've got guys like Brian Gibbons, got Gibbons and Boyle who suddenly could become, streamers for a short term for a team for a week. And you got the defensive guys. We didn't even mention Sammy Vatanen, who is the hottest Devil right now, not named Taylor Hall. I mean, he has 13 points in his last 14 games. I mean, we could almost now say Adam Henrique too. Almost.
Almost. But we'll find out next. We'll find out next week, Chris, when the Devils take on the Anaheim Ducks next Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern next Sunday. Actually, we're doing a podcast at 7 p.m. next week. But anyway, thank you, Chris. That's Chris Wassel from Dauber Hockey and Vice Sports. He writes a lot of fantasy hockey places. But go check him out. I think it's at Chris Wassel DF. I forgot his Twitter handle. Sorry about that. Anyway, so guys, no DFS. It's right in front of me on my screen, and I didn't even see it. Anyway.
Oh man, Sam.
Yeah, but Sammy Vatanen is hot. He is right. Sammy Vatanen is hot right now.
That Hansel is so hot. You know, I should have asked Chris next time when we talk to him some advice, because I've never had any luck with fantasy hockey. Like I would pick a stellar lineup and I would always lose. And I remember one time I lost to my friend's girlfriend and her team was such trash. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, I should win. I set my lineup, I do everything I'm supposed to do. And then I look at it at the end of the week and I'm like, how the hell did I lose? Like I could never ever get a grasp on like how it worked.
I tried. I always was just bad at checking because I'm just so busy during the winter. I'm so bad at checking my lineup. However, that being said, maybe we should do a Let's Go Devils podcast league for next season. As we go into season 2 of our podcast, we can start our own fantasy hockey league and watch the 2 of the 3 hosts just really suck at it. I'm sure Sam will figure it out.
And then, watch us, have Chris Wassel on again and just begging for advice. So look at my phone on the screen and just tell me.
Yeah. And just trying to undercut each other. Like, don't listen to, give Beer Baron the worst advice.
I'll just give Chris Wassel my password, and he can just do my fantasy hockey picks.
That's what's going to happen is Sam's team is we're going to be like, dude, Sam's dominating the league, and then I'm going to be like, wait a second,
really Chris is going to be doing it for him.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so, guys. I used to be good at fantasy sports back when I was in college. Then I just it doesn't work for me. And then I stopped really doing that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you the reason why. When there's money on the line, I get really angry, and it's always it's always like the last 5 seconds of the game that would burn me. I remember playing fantasy football in the playoffs. I was already ahead by 6 points, and it just turned out that the guy I was playing, it was intern Rob, and it just so happens the defense that was on the field, Eli Manning throws to the guy, and the guy catches it. Not only did he catches it for an interception, boom, touchdown, and he gave him like 2 extra points because of that touchdown, and he beat me in the playoffs, and I think it was like $1,000 on the line.
That's terrible. I won my fantasy football championship this year. I have my belt downstairs, which will be proudly displayed coming soon to the studio coming soon. And I won some money. It was really nice. But yes, money on the line makes everything different.
No,
Melissa Dawn
screaming at your phone.
Guys, Melissa Dawn asks, why are the boxes for your heads are in this week so small? Is she talking about the new graphic?
I think she's talking about the spread of the 3 of us here, because it's only been it's only been 2 of us for the last. There we go. It's been 2 of us for the last couple weeks, and now we're moving to 3. So, screen space. I guess can't have all 3 of us in the same space without it's just too big, too small, whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
And the ghost can be back. Woo!
Yeah, and then Sam can take up the whole screen because he's at the controls. Melissa, whatever it is, it's Sam's fault. It's Sam's fault, no matter what it is.
Well, she actually asked, "Woo, I missed the Mickey Mouse. Did you guys ever see the Mickey Mouse podcast? About last year?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
it was one of the greatest podcasts.
Podcast. it was like somewhat creepy as well. However, if the Mickey Mouse comes back, that means that we're not doing well. So let's keep the Mickey Mouse away. Unless it's a celebratory Mickey Mouse.
I'll tell you what, if the Devils win the cup this year, I will go to the parade in a Mickey Mouse costume on a horse.
Dude, let's make this happen. All right. First of
all,
you can't throw a bet
on a horse.
You cannot throw a bet down on that. First of all, this is live, so other people are seeing this. Second of all, it's recorded, so it's going to be out there forever and on the internet. I'm going to tell you this. If you are holding your word, if the Devils win the cup this year, and you're willing to do that, we are going to, there's a costume store that I know that will have a legit Mickey Mouse costume that looks like it came from Disney World. You will put that bad boy on. Even if you hold the head, so people can see it's you.
All right.
And then
hold on.
I live near all these farm these horse farms. I'm sure I can find a horse somewhere that we can rent for a day, but we will make that happen.
Beer Baron, this is coming from this bet is coming from a guy who wore full Martin Brodeur gear to MSG. Do you really think?
Oh, I know.
Do you really think he's not willing to do anything for the Devils?
That's very true. He was a live Martin Brodeur statue at one point too.
He was.
And for hire, $30 an hour.
That's right.
And all the escorting him through the arena and all those games was just so much fun. I don't know how, getting in with the gear is one thing. How they let you bring the stick in is beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, you must know some people, because if I came walking in through those doors with a stick in my hand, they'd turn me right around. There's no way. I don't look innocent enough.
I get wanded every time I walk through the door because my belt buckle sets it off every time. And I show them that too. I'm like, I got a belt buckle. Beep. Told you I have a belt buckle. Then they still want me anyway. It's not like I'm hiding it.
The extra pat. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Just let me go.
So that'll be when the Devils win it this year and Sam shows up in Newark.
And by the way, Melissa,
just as Mickey Mouse.
I'm going to shame you for saying that they won't even make the playoffs. That's terrible. I said, but we won't even make the playoffs. That's terrible to say.
Oh, come on, Melissa.
There's no naysaying on this podcast. Even when things get bad, even when we're going through those losing streaks and we're pissed off, we still don't naysay.
Well, now it's a pinned comment right now that I bet that the Devils win the Stanley Cup. I'm just more worried about finding a horse.
Listen,
finding a horse to do
I'm
this.
surrounded by horses. It's insane. I have so many horse farms out here, so I'm sure I could procure us a horse somehow. Come hell or high water, we'll find us a horse.
So, guys, this is the Let's Go Devils podcast. The new viewers and listeners are just tuning in right now. This is episode 22, Tasmanian Devil, in our first season. Guys, we have one more guest, Taz, from the Devil's Army blog. I can't thank the Devil's Army blog just supporting us. And also, rumor has it the show may be on the road very soon for a live event, a live show.
Right. That's correct.
That is the rumor.
Ironing out
there
some
are
details.
Rumors out there.
We'll make it happen.
And we got to invite Bobby's Auto Care out there. Those folks, Bobby's Auto Care on 2151 Route 57, beautiful Washington, New Jersey. We got to invite Bobby's Auto Care and also, party with them. They are very nice people, and I'm sure that they would enjoy a sponsored fest live event somewhere in beautiful New Jersey. I'm starting to think it's going to be in Morris County. It all depends if JCP&L has the power going there.
Those bastards.
One would hope that they would have the power going by then. That's what one would hope.
I tell you what, though, Bobby's Auto Care, they use car parts made by American people because that's who they care about. Just telling you, because that's who they love and that's who they care about. I totally butchered that line because I was trying to alter that line. I was trying to alter it just enough so it wasn't the exact one, but in the whatever.
No, yeah. We'll just say you're still not feeling well. You're still not feeling well.
I'm on medicine. I'm not even drinking a beer. I'm off my game, right?
What's that T-bone in Tommy Boy? How did that go?
Yeah, you gotta look. You gotta have the butcher, and then you put your. Yeah, exactly.
No. Oh man.
I know. I'm messing it up on purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. I'm glad you're messing it up on purpose.
Nicole Judith Fricker says they've been in a playoff spot. They've been in a playoff spot all year. I know, but they just need to be in the playoff spot after the last game of the season.
Yeah,
and I know there are some. Something. Is it April 10th or April 7th?
April 10th is the last day of the season. So I think the last game for the Devils is April 7th, but the last day of the season is April 9th or April 10th. So that's when they need to be in that coveted spot. And I tell you what.
Yeah.
I know there's our friend Don who says they're not consistent enough. And yes, they have been so weird where they go on these 4-game winning streaks, 4-game losing streaks, 3-game winning streak, 3-game losing streak, and they're up and down. And it drives you insane because you're like, this team, they go on those winning streaks and you're like, no one's gonna beat us, and you're ripping your shirt and you're pounding your chest.
Yeah.
You go on the 4 games losing streaks and you're like, well, that's it. See you guys later. We'll hang out there.
Melissa writes, I miss Moldar Roofing just because it was cool to hear my last name in every podcast. Moldar Roofing. They haven't paid the bill all year, but we'll mention their name just because of Melissa. Moldar Roofing. Actually, you know what? I'll plug Moldar Roofing. You know why? Because I had to drive Moldar Roofing back home last night after the Red Bull game. And I thank you very much. That's the happyendingtailgate.com. It's a new venture that I'm going to be in. Driving home drunk people while I'm sober so they can get home safe. Anyway, that's an inside joke right there. David writes, Devils win another big game against Vegas and Corey pitching a shutout.
Wow, that's a bold prediction.
What I hope just happened is we just had a time traveler jump onto our podcast and tell us what happened in the future, and he's come back with some knowledge. That's what I hope just happened. Thank you, David, time traveler.
Yes, David, I like that prediction. That is a very bold prediction. However, I will most definitely be sitting down. That's the one game I'm looking forward to this week. Just to sit down and watch them, because I haven't had a chance to see Vegas play at home, or I don't think I've seen anyone play Vegas yet. haven't had the chance. So I'm excited to be able to sit down and actually watch the Devils play away at Vegas, check out what the atmosphere looks like there. I was really bummed out. I was really hoping that maybe we would play Vegas on the weekend and then fly out there and check it out. But they don't have very many home games on the weekends, which I would have flown out for any random Vegas home game just to check it out. But that's definitely one that I'm going to be going for. I'm going to be watching at least.
Well,
by the way, so, sorry to interrupt. I have to plug this. Do you know who we have on next week? We have a special time, 7 p.m. Next Sunday on March 18th. We have Arlette coming onto the program. Arlette,
very special.
Very special. I mean, she sings the national anthem, as you know, Devils fans, but also that's our opening intro, the national anthem. It's Arlette singing into the Let's Go Devils podcast.
That's right.
So it's going to be a big treat for all of us. Today she's at a concert. She couldn't make it today. But next week, I have to plug that in, guys. Arlette will be on the program.
Yeah, it'll be fun. That'll be nice to talk to her. I got to talk to her a little bit when she was at your wedding, and she just seemed like the nicest person. That was the only time I got to talk to her. So it'll be cool to get ask her a couple questions. Ask her what it's like to sing the anthem for the team, and it'll be a cool interview.
Mm-hmm. She's a really nice person. Very nice person. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it up to you two. I'm going to get Tommy from Devil's Army blog on the line for a few minutes to talk about what's going on there. They actually had a pretty interesting poll, Schneider or Kincaid, and I'll let him reveal the results so far. So let me turn it back to you guys.
All right. So Beer Baron, looking at the schedule coming up, Vegas, LA, Anaheim, San Jose, and then flying back to Pittsburgh.
Beautiful.
That's going to be a heck of a trip. And unfortunately, for all those that have to get up early, there's going to be a couple really bleary mornings.
Oh God,
watching some of these late games.
10 o'clock games suck.
I got to say this, when I was growing up, the Western swing, it was always, getting to watch any of those Western games, like Edmonton and Calgary. It was always like the Devils were in just like a foreign territory, like just another planet. It was just always so weird.
Yeah. It's like for us now, as we sit, it's like these 10 o'clock games. Like if they're during the week, it sucks because you're up late and then you have to wake up early to go to work. You prefer them to be on the weekend, but it's just like weird to have the games so late. One of my best friends moved out to California, and he's like, dude, it's pretty wild. Like, some of I'm catching Devils games at 4 o'clock. You know what I mean? So like, the game will come on, and I'll look at my clock and be, oh yeah, it's 4 and not 7 o'clock. So he's like, when they have these games out on the West Coast, it's like finally, all right, a normal game time for me. Yeah, I'm not super happy with the late games. Can't hang like I used to.
What are you saying? You're getting old, Beer Baron?
Dude, I am old. I am old. I'll stay awake and I'll wake up the next morning and I'll be like, what happened? And I'll be like, oh yeah. It's not even like I win anywhere.
And it like conversely, let's think about this because friends of mine also live out in the West Coast, and I know it's not Devils hockey, but for football, for example, all the 1 o'clock games on the East Coast,
mm-hmm.
10
a.m. games,
10 in the morning. Yeah, but 10 in the morning. But then again, if it's a big game you want to go out and drink for, like at the last night of the last game of the night, you still have plenty of time to go to bed. It's great.
Oh yeah, it's true.
From that angle, it's great. Yeah. But anyway, I'm excited for the Vegas game just to see it. What is there any game that stands out to you for any other reason?
Well, there's something I got to say. The from what I understand, so my parents are both season ticket holders. They know a lot of people over there. A lot of my really best friends and close friends are season ticket holders, and I've come to understand next year that the fan club is taking a trip to Vegas. So the Devils fan club is going to do the Vegas game and then the LA game. So they're going to do the Vegas and then you bust it out to LA, which is pretty wild. I think that's pretty awesome. So just to give you a heads up, you said you want to go to Vegas. I think it's happening next year. If you want to hitch a ride with the Devils fan club,
I'll do it. I'll do it as long as I can. As long as I can swing the time off. If it's during the week, I'll definitely do it. That sounds like a really fun trip.
Oh my!
I haven't
God.
been to Vegas, and I think the last time I was in Vegas was 2007. Yeah, 2007. That was the one and only time I was there, and I was only there for 19 hours. And we saw. Remember the? You remember the movie Jackass and all that stuff?
Of course, yeah.
All right, yeah. Well, we pulled up to a stoplight at 4 a.m. and there was sitting in the passenger seat of some SUV next to us was Wee Man. It was crazy. It was crazy. And I was in I was in a van with two of my friends' bands were on tour, and I met them out in Vegas. And everyone went from like all over the van to just at one side just to look. It was crazy. Vegas was a ton of fun. And everyone said the dry heat's not that bad. Well, 120 degrees is 120 degrees. No matter how you slice it, it sucks.
Yeah, right. It does suck. I mean, I've been out in Arizona with that heat, and that is not fun. They're like, but it's dry heat, and I'm like, you could take your dry heat and cram it ugly. It sucks. But going back to your question, what game I'm kind of looking forward to the Anaheim game. I think that's a game that Sami Vatanen is going to get up for. They're probably going to give him like a nice little tribute, and he's been on fire, so you can imagine that will spark him. You can imagine that the boys are going to be getting up for Vegas, considering how that game went last time. So I don't know. I just feel like they got to keep riding this momentum, but they're so hot and cold. It's hard to predict how things are going to go. They kill Nashville's 10-game winning streak, which they did to LA earlier in the year. LA had an 8-game winning streak, and they put an end to it. But who knows? Like, my hope is that they just keep riding this. Take this game that they just had in Nashville and build on it. Take the rest, these couple days of rest, get out to Vegas, throw some craps around, and then go.
Hey guys, we got Tommy from Devil's Army blog, also known as Taz. Great guy. I'm going to tee him up. Tommy, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, Tommy. Big day on Devil's Army blog. First off, number one, I love the site. I love the writers. But also, you know what I really like are the guesses. Guys, Beer Baron and Shorts Guy, they have this post before the game. Guess who scores the first goal? It's crazy. Who thought of that idea, Tommy?
That was something that we started up actually back in 2011, 2012. It was something that just kind of myself and our co-founder at the time, Justin, thought it would be fun to do to get the fans engaged and involved. So it's kind of evolved. It's a tradition that we've carried on, and it really is a good way to get the fans, like I said, just engaged. And we're starting to very slowly kind of bring in some rewards for guessing correctly. You get entered into a monthly prize drawing now if you guess correctly, and then we give out certain some prizes at the end of each month for the correct winners. So it's a fun little way to get the fans involved and just a little friendly competition amongst the fan base.
All right, so tell me about the poll. Kincaid or Schneider? What are the results so far? When did that poll go out? Was it that today?
I believe that was last night around midnight. And last I checked, it was about 82% were in favor of Kincaid starting again, and about 18% were in favor of Schneider starting.
What do you think? What is your opinion about it?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I'm on the fence about it. I mean, Kincaid, there's no doubt after the way he played last night that he deserves another shot. He stood on his head for the team. The Devils were needing their goaltenders to steal them a win for weeks now, and they finally had a goaltender able to do that. So I think for that reason, I'm in favor of him starting again. At the same time, though, Schneider has been struggling recently. There's no doubt, even before the injury, he's having a hard time coming back. I think his confidence is shot. So the only way you're going to fix that, though, is by giving him more ice time. And you want to be able to, get him adjusted better before, prior to the playoffs coming up, if the team can even make it in at this point. So for right now, just to get some wins under the belt, I'd say keep riding Kincaid. He's hot. If you can get Schneider in there, if the team has a big lead in the third period, or they need a goaltending change at any point, just, get him some ice time and get his confidence back up slowly but surely anywhere they can.
Yeah, that we were talking about that earlier today, and we pretty much came up with to the same conclusion as let Kincaid start. It would be great to get Snyder in, but with 13 games remaining and points at a premium, it's kind of hard to find you want him to find his rhythm and get him that playing time. I agree, but it's like where do you put him in? Maybe in the two back-to-backs we have left, but the two back-to-backs are against Pittsburgh and Tampa, and then the Islanders and Montreal. So it's not like it's even I don't want to say throwaway points against a West Coast team, but we need those points against those Eastern Conference teams as well.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's we're 3 points, have a 3-point cushion down from a 9-point cushion just a couple of weeks ago because of this recent losing streak. Like when we were talking about earlier, the goaltending is a big reason why the team kind of fell down and closer to the falling out of the position of the playoff race. But definitely, yeah, like I said, Kincaid's the hot hand. You got to ride him right now and just hope he can slowly kind of put Schneider in where he can. I know you mentioned that big game against Tampa on that back-to-back coming up in a week and a half, 2 weeks, around there. Yeah, I definitely think he'll play back-to-back. I mean, but I guess the big question is, if the team does make it to the playoffs, do you want Kincaid starting, or do you want the more experienced and arguably the more skilled goaltender in the cage for your team and during the playoffs? But like you said, the first problem is getting to those playoffs because nothing's a given at this point when you just have a 3-point cushion, and arguably the way the Panthers have been playing, they have 3 games in hand. Devils could be on the outside looking in real fast. So, like you said, I think that's right for the time being. Just ride Kincaid until he gives John Hines a reason not to. But John Hines said that when a goaltender proved that they can handle the range, he was going to give it to him. And that right now is Kincaid.
Yeah, and it seemed like the Devils were playing for a lot of the season with games at hand, but everything's finally caught up to them, and that's really the scary one behind us is the Panthers with 3 games. They've only played 66. We got 69, and they're that 3 points can be made up so quickly with 2 losses and 2 wins right there. It's going to be scary, but like you said, make the playoffs first and foremost, and then go from there. And if you have 2 awesome goaltenders going into the playoffs, then that's great. I mean, look at Pittsburgh. They had they switched goaltending and won the cup. So anything can happen if you have 2 really good goaltenders.
Definitely, yeah. And just back to, I want to give the Panthers some credit. I actually went to the game when the Devils were in Sunrise a week and a half ago. And they are a scary team, to play against, man. They're fast, they're relentless on the puck, on the forecheck. They do a really good job of clogging up the neutral zone. And defensively, they're incredibly sound. Alexander Barkov, he had a 10-game point streak, I believe, at some point. They're a very underrated team, and I think they're coming up fast. I think they're going to squeak into the playoffs. So I really hope the Devils can kind of find a way to get that first wild card spot back, because I think the Panthers are going to take the second one.
So, one of our questions that we were asked before by one of our Facebook followers was, how do you think that we could fix the power play? Because that seems to be one of the issues. And it's kind of nice to get, another opinion on this. So, Taz, what do you think we could do? or what do you think the Devils could do to help generate more goals and more points on their power play?
Set up in front of the net. I've always been a big advocate for the team being more physical and more aggressive at both ends of the ice and from the net, especially defense, because defensively, whether we're on a penalty kill or just trapped in our zone, the opposing team can just park right in front of the goaltender and screen them all day long. The defenders don't do anything to clear the way or makes it easier for tips or redirects or rebounds. So I think in terms of defense, again, just getting bodies in front of the net and clearing the crease, make sure the goaltender can see the shots. And then for the power play, just getting the guys like the Brian Boyles and the Pat Maroons and just throw them from the net. I like their current setup, though, where they have Palmieri or Hall on the far point and Vatanen or Severson on the top point. They just got to shoot, get pucks to the net, and have that big guy there ready for the screen or the tip, and have the guy on the far point come down and get ready to pounce home a rebound when they can. They're getting to the point in the season where they need goals, and they've been struggling to produce them recently. Best way to cure that, throw everything at the net. You can't score if you don't shoot.
Yeah, true.
That's true. However, in that Winnipeg game, they threw everything at the net, and they still had trouble scoring. Shots are great. They gotta get high quality shots, not just throwing them at the net too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. But you also want to put yourself in that position too, where you can get some garbage goals, especially if you're down late in the game. At that point, just blast everything and don't be afraid to get physical around the net. Think in the rebounds when you can. Just keep them low and hope that the rebounds come out to your guys. I'm a very crash the net kind of player. There are times where I see kind of Nico Hischier or Taylor Hall out in front of the net. I'm like, why would you put those guys there on the power play? You don't want those guys taking a shot and getting hurt, or and they're also not really big enough stature wise. So the specialty guys in Boyle and Maroon for a reason there. So I think those guys, the more skilled guys, should be at the points or behind the net on the side of the cage, and leave room for the big guys there to just crash the net. So the rebounds are going to be huge.
Mm. So we just had another question that was asked to us, and so this is a great question to ask I guess all three of us, or four if Sam's still floating in space. What do you think the magic number is out of the 13 games remaining? What do you think the magic number is that the Devils need to win to get in? And I guess we could add in some ties because you're still getting a point, or a tie, overtime loss because you're still getting a point out of it. I'm going way back. I'm dating myself. So what do you think that magic number is? What do you think the amount of wins they need to get out of that last 13?
As many points as possible. If I had to put a number on it, I would probably say record you're looking at 8-3-2. You want to rack up as many points as possible, but with this upcoming schedule, it's going to be very difficult for the team to do that. There's no gimmies left. You can argue maybe Anaheim or San Jose are winnable games, but it's still going to be tough for the Devils in the midst of a road trip in different time zones. The late starts. I think it's going to be a lot easier said than done in that regard. And the way that the teams below us are playing, how they're racing to try and get in to claim that last wild card spot that we now hold, I'd probably say 8-3-2.
I don't know. 8-3-2. That sounds about right. Unfortunately, it's a tall order, and some people say they look at the Panthers schedule and they're like, well, the Panthers schedule is a lot weaker than the Devils schedule. And you got to think about it. If the Devils do get through this remaining 13 games, the schedule that they have, and they get into the playoffs, I'd rather go into the playoffs winning games against tougher teams or playoff teams than get into the playoffs playing teams that are already checked out.
Oh, definitely, yeah, because at that point you're looking at either playing Tampa Bay, who's probably at this point the very likely target that we'd be facing in the first round, or I believe the Penguins. So we'll see if he ends up in the first place in the Metro. So either way, it's going to be facing stiff competition. So like you said, if the Devils can find a way to squeak in and maintain their playoff spots that they've had all season long, I think playing the tougher teams may have an advantage. But at the same time, it'll also be a disadvantage. They're going to be tired. They're going to be, if things don't go well towards the end, the morale might be a little bit taking a hit. So, but definitely, playing this stiffer competition it definitely has its advantages because you're more prepared for playing elite teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Washington Capitals or the Pittsburgh Penguins. None of those teams are going to be pushovers, and they could definitely help them be prepared for the first round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this Western road swing couldn't have come at the worst time in our schedule, especially with where we're standing in the standings as well, too. I didn't even think of that. You just mentioned the time change difference and all the travel. That's for some reason that just didn't occur to me that's going to be a real pain as well. But at least once they get out to the West, they get out to Vegas on Wednesday. Hopefully they're out there, in the next day or two so they can adjust there. And then they're on California for the next 3 games. So it's not like they're jumping back and forth. So hopefully once they get adjusted out West, that really won't be too much of an issue. But coming home, I think is going to be the real hard one. Pittsburgh and then Tampa, that adjustment's going to just be killer.
I definitely agree. I believe there's a pretty short turnaround time, too, before they take on the Pens and the Lightning. But the good news is that the team has played well against the Penguins this season, and I think they went 1-1 so far with the Lightning. But they've proven that they can. This team is kind of they like to match the level of their competition. I feel like sometimes, which we've seen a lot of in the past too with this team, just previous seasons. They like to play to the level of competition. But like I said, they've had the Penguins number all season long. That's going to be a key game. And one of the key games remaining. Tampa Bay, that's going to be another tall order. Luckily, they're already at 100 points. They're basically guaranteed a playoff spot. They haven't clinched yet, but they're maybe a day or two off. So I think they'll be kind of maybe resting some of their star players or not necessarily rolling with their best lineup or their best strategies. And then I think the game to watch, honestly, the last one, out of the 13 games remaining is going to be the second to last game of the season against the Rangers. I've been calling that one because the Rangers are going to look to go out and play spoiler. It's going to be a key divisional game on home ice. Even if the Rangers are out of the playoff picture, they're still going to want to make sure that their arch rival doesn't get in. So I think that's going to be the tallest order that they got remaining. Not necessarily the skill battle wise, but just because there's going to be teams playing spoiler now.
Tommy, one last thing before we let you go. You're a little bit of a younger generation Devils fan. I remember I was in 4th grade when the Devils first made the playoffs in their history. And since then, since 88, there's only a couple times where, okay, they missed the playoffs, but they're back, they're back in it the next year. Right now, the Devils haven't been in the playoffs since 2012. It's already 2018. I feel the same sentiment. I feel like it's going to come to the last game of the season against the Washington Capitals, and it's going to be Taylor Hall with the overtime goal to send the Devils into the playoffs for the first time since 2012. Did I tee that up pretty nicely? Do you have that same feeling?
That sounds very poetic, and it would make all the sense in the world. I agree with you. I think it's going to come down to the wire. The games against the Rangers and the Capitals, early April. That, like you said, it would really just be poetic if it came down to overtime. Devils lose, they're out. Devils win, they're in. And Taylor Hall can find a way to squeak one by. Or if you can at least get a point, maybe like you're looking at a Sammy Vatanen goal or even an underdog, say a Pat Maroon or Drew Stafford or something like that, squeaking that goal in overtime. But man, that would really be one for the record books if something like that could happen. And
yeah, well, thank you, Tommy. That's Tommy Zielinski from the Devils Army blog, the founder, devilsarmyblog.com. If you haven't got to the website, great website, great bunch of Devils fans writing about the team. Thank you, Tommy. I would agree. Hey, guys, do you know how I would feel if the Devils got in the playoffs? I feel like a $1,000,000. Just I just screwed up that bit.
Yeah, you really did.
Dude, we're on par for that.
There we go. I didn't hit the right button. Woo! It's like playing
If the Devils, if the Devils make the playoffs, we're gonna be counting down or counting up, whatever you want to call it, to the 16 victories needed for you to dress as Mickey Mouse in Newark.
By the way,
I already forgot about that bet.
We'll call it the Mickey Mouse tally.
Do you think they would have a parade? Because no offense to the city of Newark, but where would they have this parade?
Geez.
No, I'm being serious. Like, where would they have that parade?
Down Broad Street.
They'll have it. They'll have it at Championship Plaza.
From starting from where?
Broad Street. Broad Street.
From the train station to the front door.
Listen, if we have to worry about where the parade's going to be in June, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
That's a problem I would love to have. Is where's the parade going to be? That's a problem I want to have because we certainly don't have a parking lot to have a party in anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I texted Hugh Weber on. I think I texted him on New Year's Eve. I got to find that text. I text him nonsense sometimes. I haven't done it in a while. I think the last time I texted him was after the Elias ceremony 2 days later. Is the ceremony over yet? But he didn't respond. I'm looking at the old text I sent Hugh on New Year's. I said to him, Merry Christmas. He says, Happy New Year, big man, 2018, woohoo. And I said 2018 equals Devils Stanley Cup champions. And I have a picture. I sent them a picture of Scott Stevens holding the cup. He goes, if so, this text makes the paper. So if that happens, I have
and you're Mickey Mouse. And you're Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, lots of things happen. A lot of good things are going to happen. I'm feeling it right now, and hey, I'm an optimistic fan. I'm
the name of Sam Wu.
Yeah, let's make it there first. Let's definitely make it there.
Yeah.
So, guys, this is a great podcast tonight. It's wow, we're way past an hour. I could talk all night about the Devils, but I'd like to thank all the listeners and viewers that are just tuning in right now, and those that tuned in today. This podcast is growing. It is the most commented Devils podcast in the history of New Jersey Devils podcasts on the internet. I mean, we may not come in numbers sometimes, but heck, our fans like to talk. They like to chat in the chat room.
And how?
I don't get it.
Here's one. Matt McCronin, which I hope I didn't kill that name. Grabner with the game-winning goal against the Rangers to clench a playoff spot. That one's in the chat.
Wow.
I like that. I like that prediction right there.
Wow. Wow. That's a good one.
There was another comment. David Perlmutter. Basically, same thing. Grabner beating the Rangers. That would be poetic as well. I'm all for that.
Well, Beer Baron, if you want,
although I would like it like this. We're already secure in the playoff spot, but Grabner puts up a 3 spot on him and gets the natural hat trick. How about that?
That would be great.
Wow.
And then roars into the playoffs.
Hey, you know what? As long as we make the playoffs and beat the Rangers, I'll be happy.
Well, guys, this was a great podcast. Episode 22. We're building it. Oh, what's that?
I'm so sorry. I just noticed something. I don't condone any blasphemy on our Facebook page. I want you to know that I take this very that I'm not joking. You know, I don't think it's right. I don't think that anybody should ever do it. So don't jump on here and say go Flyers. You just don't do that. Just don't do that. If I had a newspaper, I'd roll it up and I'd hit you on the nose. I'd just say no. No. That's blasphemy, and I don't appreciate it. So get off my grass.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. I told you,
if you scroll up the text message, Beer Baron, I mentioned about that Flyer fan in our group chat.
I did. I saw that.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out, but mine wasn't refreshing. That's why.
Okay. Gotcha. Oh, is that why you said in Facebook? Yes. What's the name? And then when you said what's the name, I thought you meant like who's the guest, Tommy?
No.
Yeah, his name was right on the screen,
which confused me more.
I was looking down.
I saw that too, and I was like, no, that's not the guy who just said something about the Flyers. Oh well. Hey, we got through it.
Yeah. And thank you, Taz, for coming on the show too. Chris and Taz. It was really cool to get those guys on tonight and get some different opinions and stuff like that. So it's really nice, refreshing.
Next week is Arlette night on the Let's Go Devils podcast. I can't wait. I'm actually looking forward to that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be a good one. And at a new earlier time for next week, 7:00.
Right before the 9 p.m. puck drop, Devils Anaheim. Can't get better than that. It's going to be a pregame show on the Let's Go Devils podcast. Yeah, essentially. But guys, rumor has it, last game of the season, we're going to be on the road. I think we're going to be on the road.
That is true.
That is the rumor.
So we want everybody to stay tuned.
We'll just say this, that the owner of the establishment has given us the green light. So
that's crazy.
Be aware of that we have the green light. We just need to finalize some things on our end, and we're good to go.
And that would be a Saturday night. That would be a hell of a Saturday night.
Uber.
Yeah. At least for you, Uber it won't cost you $100 to get home.
No, yeah, seriously.
Although there is this new happy ending tailgate service. Driving service.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
My only customer.
He does know where we live.
My only customer is Moldar Roofing. That's the only customer I have right now. Oh boy!
All right,
I'm trying to cue in the music. Oh, here we go.
There it is.
Trying to cue in the music. Trying to get all my graphics ready before we head off to wherever we are, wherever we're going this week. Great podcast, guys. Want to thank Chris Wassel, Tommy from Devil's Army blog coming on to the program. I want to thank you guys because I can't do this podcast without you guys. and I want to thank the Facebook and Twitter followers. We're growing. And as what I always say, we are the most commented Devils podcast in the history of New Jersey Devils podcasts. We may not come in numbers sometimes, but our fans like to comment.
Yes, they do.
Also want to thank Melissa Dodd for managing the Let's Go Devils group, the Facebook group during the week. And we'll be back next week, right?
Yep. Next week, 7:00. New early time for next week.
That's right.
With
my daughter.
With Arlette. So anyway, till next time, let's go Devils.